Let's talk a little bit about dual enrollment and earning college credits while still in high school. So, this is something that my oldest has just started doing as a freshman. She's starting some of her dual credit courses. And this is something we've kind of been looking ahead to, something we had planned to do. So, even though she was in eighth grade, she was taking mostly high school level courses, earning high school credit because she was just simply ready to do that, which when you're a homeschooler, your kids can learn on their schedule. So, if they're ready to do that, you can move them on ahead. So we were looking into the future, knowing that we wanted to do some type of dual credit situation. So we did try that this year. We had her take the ACT the summer after her eighth grade year just to get a placement. Not all community colleges require that, but I did want to have that to show them to prove that she was ready for this level of work since she was going to be starting a little bit younger than they normally admit students. She was going to be 14 as a dual enrolled student, and some states and some places don't want you to do that or allow you to do that. Thankfully, our community college does allow it, and it is allowed in our state. So I knew that we would be able to do it as long as the college would admit her. And I thought by having a test score, it would just kind of help validate our homeschool and validate her transcript and really increase the odds of her being admitted and being able to participate in the dual enrollment courses. So what we did is we talked with the advisor and we talked about courses that would work well for a beginner. And we settled on a lot of kind of basic courses like the English comp. You know, you're looking at those gen ed requirements. Some ones that were recommended were some literature courses or English and writing courses. They also recommended some things like government or economics or even psychology. So things kind of more in the humanities or even the social sciences. Because those are the areas that my daughter is the strongest in, we really wanted to start there. Because she's only completed Algebra 1, I knew we didn't want to jump right into college algebra. I wanted her to have some geometry first and do a little bit more math. And she's only completed like a general physical science. We haven't taken any biology or chemistry. So I didn't think math or science would be the way to go right now for her. She's definitely a humanities kid. So something maybe even with history, government, English, writing, that was really where we wanted to go with her first dual enrollment course. So we settled on an English 101, it's English comp, and so basic English comp with an emphasis on writing and the arts. I don't know, that was one that was offered. We're doing this during all of the COVID craziness, so they don't actually have classes on campus for some of these subjects. So English, they're doing mostly virtually. So my daughter has twice a week virtual Zoom classes with her professors and her others students. So she meets with them twice a week and then turns in all her assignments via email. So everything is done virtually, which is a little different. I'm kind of excited that she's not in a classroom yet, that she's testing out her first college course without having to be in a classroom with students who are, you know, all ages. And that's what I warned her. At a community college, you're going to have every age. There'll be other dual enrolled kids, I'm sure. And there'll also be traditional college age students and also adults and even older adults who are going back to school. So you will see a wide age range. So I told her not to be intimidated. It's going to be different. But I was kind of glad that her first step into the dual enrollment process was online. A little bit less intimidating to be able to take the class from home. And that way I would be there to support her if she needed any help. So far she hasn't needed any, really. So she's just been able to do her work on her own. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the pros and cons of this. Obviously, the biggest pro is that you're earning high school credit plus college credit. So you're killing two birds with one stone. And that is great because you're not having to retake courses. So if your child is really strong in one area, they don't need to take the high school level course plus the college course. Obviously, you can clip it, or you can just do the dual enrollment. And then you can count it for both high school and college. They get both done at the same time. So it's a great way to speed them along and just save a ton of time. So when they go to college, if they go somewhere else, it's probably going to be more expensive if it's not a community college. So those courses are going to cost more, and you have your gen eds out of the way somewhere that is cheaper. So that is nice. So there are definite pros to this. However, I'm learning some of the cons. Some of the cons are my child is bored to tears in this class. I have been really disappointed with the quality of the instruction and the assignments. She is super bored. And she is a high achieving student. She's very motivated and driven, but I thought this would be something that would challenge her a little bit and that she would find interesting to interact with the other students. And they have peer reviewed papers that they write and all kinds of things. And it is just not very fun. They spend most of their class time with students asking the same question over and over. Things that are in the syllabus, things that are in the instructions. No one seems to be reading them, and my daughter says she just spends most of her class time sitting there listening to these students ask the same questions that have already been answered by the professor earlier in that class that day, or are already answered in the syllabus, and everything is just very, very repetitive. She actually sits in class and edits the thumbnails for my YouTube channel. Yeah, so she's not very engaged or interested in the class. So I haven't been very impressed with it. I really feel that the level of instruction I would have given her in a writing course would be much better, and it would have been much more challenging and engaging for her. So it's great. Yes, she's going to earn college credit, but she has been bored to death in this class. So that is another thing that you have to consider. My child is used to moving at her own pace and being challenged. And so this is completely different to work at the pace of the group, which is clearly not her pace of learning. So it's just not meshing well with her. So we are exploring other options for the next semester, trying to look at other universities that will offer some dual credit, maybe some things where she could be actually on a campus, interacting with the professors. I think it would be more engaging to be face-to-face in a classroom, hopefully a little bit more challenging as well. So those are some things to consider. That was not something I really expected. I kind of thought it would be fun and, it would be something she would really enjoy and it would be exciting. And actually it's turned out to be really, really boring. And she really doesn't look forward to her classes twice a week. It is just a huge drain on her time when she could be spending that time doing other things. She said the professor often just ends up repeating herself for the hour and a half, just over and over and over, answering the same questions and explaining the same concepts over and over. And it is really, I have to say, it's been a waste of time. And for what you're paying for it, which community college, it's still cheaper than a university. I don't know. I don't really feel that we're getting our money's worth. So that's something to really consider when you're looking at dual enrollment. Talk to some other students who have maybe attended there. If you know some other homeschool families who have taken courses at that particular college or community college, find out some more about it. Learn about their experience because overall, I really have not found it to be very valuable. It's great that she's getting a gen ed requirement done, but at the expense of her really not enjoying it and not loving to write anymore. And I don't know, it's been really disappointing. And I've told her in college, sometimes you have professors you don't mesh with, you have classes that you find really boring, and you do just have to push through, get it done, and do your best. And you have to meet the requirements that the professor puts forth in the syllabus, whether you agree with them or not. If you want to get that A, you need to do what's required. So it's been a good lesson in perseverance, even through something that is really, really boring and something she really doesn't enjoy. But we have a whole semester of this now. So we have several more months of this class that we have to get through. So those are things to consider when you're looking at dual enrollment and thinking about this. I did not realize how much time it was going to take and how much of that time I would feel is completely wasted. And yes, I remember college and I remember many classes where I felt like they were a total waste of time. But I just wonder if maybe in class, being in a classroom environment would somehow be better or more interesting or engaging, maybe more challenging. So we're definitely exploring some other options, other universities for later semesters, because overall I have found that it has not been very enjoyable, and I can't really see us doing another semester of this. We're only doing one class right now. We just wanted to try it without committing to too much. And I'm finding that if she did multiple classes like this, the amount of time it would take of her just sitting at her computer, unable to do anything else and just being so bored. Wow. I don't know. I don't think it's worth it for us. So something to definitely consider. We might really be looking more toward CLEP or some other things later to get some of these courses done because I don't know. This has been really, really boring, and I have been really disappointed in our experience. The whole online COVID, that whole situation is not helping, and it would probably be much better to be on the campus. But still, even then, I'm not really sure if it's a good fit for us. So things to consider. If you have done any dual enrollment, dual credit courses, I would love to hear your child's experience. Were they bored to tears like mine? I don't know. What did you do instead? Have you done a lot of CLEP? Because that's my next research project, is to find out what we can CLEP, and maybe start studying for those instead of wasting our time with all of these gen ed courses.